Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to give you an introduction to Sas ODS. So Sas ODS is output delivery system. So when you produce SAS reports, for example, using SAS proc frequency, SAS proc report, and you want to output the data in certain format. So by default, it goes to HTML interface. So what you see, for example, here, when you run the report, what you see here actually is an HTML page. In the older version of SAS, actually this part goes to the output window, but now it goes to the HTML part, basically in the results, right? So what you see here actually is an HTML page. And then you can also output data to XML. XML actually is something used very common, particularly in the early days. So what you do is that you try to transfer data in more standardized format. So in XML you have schema, you have the data. It's very structured, so it makes much easier to standardize and transfer the data. Usually it's much better than when you transfer data with CSV, which has no type, right? So, but nowadays you do have a JSON files, which becomes more and more popular. But you still have many computer systems still using XML to transfer the data. Same thing here with PDF. We can output data in the PDF format. The good thing about PDF is it makes harder to change, and the format can be very standardized. Right? For example, the margins, the spacing, everything is more consistent. Right? So you can also output them to RTF. Basically stands for the rich text format. You can, with rich text format, you can open with maybe WordPad. Definitely you can open in Microsoft Word. So that's the kind of format you can produce as well. And you can also produce the output in Excel or PowerPoint format. There are many other options. You can maybe check the SAS document if you do need to output the reports in different type of format. So in this video, I'm going to give you a basic introduction on how to produce the HTML page and also the PDF page. So I'll give you a little preview for the data and also for the output. So I'm going to use this data set, which I actually use in other lectures as well. So we're going to run a small report based on this data, and then produce result first in PDF. As you can see here, basically this is a PDF page. You can basically customize everything you want, right? For example, the date, the time, and also how you position the output table. You can see here actually the code is very straightforward. So you can have set a ODS, basically output delivery system. You can say it's PDF. You want to create a PDF. If you want to create a rich text format, you put the RTF, and then you put the path and then the file name. And after you finish it, it's always good practice to close it, and you put the ODS PDF close. And this line is good to have at the bottom, because by default it opens the HTML output. So if you use a different type of ODS after you close it and you want to reopen it, and this is the right way. So this is basically calling a Markov function and find the path to your work folder, and then reset the HTML output. Basically, it's the default output, right? So this is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is basically add ODS before the result you want to produce, and also after that you just need to close it. So this is one example of producing the PDF ODS system. The second part actually, it's a little bit more complex because you actually create a HTML page, which I will show you with a live demo. So in here, you do have a few options. In this case, you want to create something, with a little menu, which is basically called the contents. So you create the contents, and you can click them. You can see the different parts of the report. In this part, you only have one part, and then you can have this kind of feature in your HTML page. Or you can just make things simple. You don't need to put the contents of the frame. All you need to do is basically put the body. You can also put the file, the same thing, and then produce a single HTML page. So it depends on what you need. But it's same as what you produce in the PDF. You put the ODS HTML. You put the HTML as the file name, and you can give the contents and the frame, and then you close it. You can just reopen it. You can reopen. So those are just basically example for PDF and HTML. So I'll give you some explanation on the HTML file. So when you produce a SAS report, let's say you run a proc frequency table. So what that gives you is something like this, right? So basically it's a table, have certain type of data. So when you produce HTML, it looks very simple, but underneath what it does is I take every single data and put into those HTML tags, right? HTML tags. So you're gonna see this something. This is something called the source code. The source code. The source code in here usually have the head section, right? And then you can have the body section. Okay? Within that body section, you're gonna see a table. So when you write a table in HTML, you're gonna see a table statement, right? So I just make things very simple, but you can have a header, and so you can close it. So basically this is a table header. So table header goes here, and then you can have some TR and TD. So every time you write data within that TR and the TD. So here, right? TD, and then you close it with TR, right? Sorry for my drawing, and then you close the table. So this whole part is basically within the body. Sometimes you need to format them. Like say you want to center the data, so you can have some cascading style sheets in here. Sometimes you want to put a JavaScript here, so you can have some pop-up window. The practical use of this part is that sometimes you want to produce some kind of report, and you want to send this through email. So when you try to send an email, as we know, in the email message, right? In the email message, you can have HTML page or a plain text page. But nowadays, many people send in HTML because it just looks better, right? But you cannot have a JavaScript here. You cannot have a JavaScript here, but you can have HTML, right? And you can also have a CSS. So that's when this part becomes helpful. So you use this one, produce some kind of HTML page. You can have put a chart, everything. You can attach to your email, or maybe you can put this HTML page in somewhere, and you can share this information with your coworkers. So basically, this is the concept of producing the HTML. So let's take a look at it. One example. So if I do here, right? So I do the body, and then let's try the PDF first. So I put a PDF, right? So same thing here, and you want to change this one to PDF, right? And then let's say change the data a little bit, just so we know we get the latest one, and then you run the report, and just to see what happens. So this code actually produce account freak PDF. So you see, we can find it, and you can download it, and you can open it, right? So you can see the frequency table, and basically in the PDF format. So each one has a page. So this is how you produce the PDF. When you work with HTML, it's a little bit more complex. Let's say in this case, I put HTML, and same thing, you put ODS HTML, and you change this one to HTML. So this is actually the simple HTML, and then when you run it, you're gonna see the HTML page. Same thing here. So you opened it, right, and then you can see the HTML. Basically the same thing. It looks a little bit pretty. But why I say it's more complex is when you try to work with the contents and also the frame, right? So in this case, so you have a content, you have a frame basically is it's like a inner part of it, HTML. You can put another HTML page within that frame. It's an old concept. It's very old. I have been knowing this for over 20 years. So I don't know when this actually got started. So so the frame is old layout and old concepts. So let's run this. So in this case, what you see is that you're gonna see different type of files. So you're gonna see account, this one. You need to download this one, and you have the menu. You need to find it, find here, and also download this one, and also HTML frame is right here, right? So basically, you need 3 parts because you have 3 sections, and then you go to your folders. I don't know where I can see them. Maybe I'll just go to the download, right? So if I go to my computer, and then I go to the download section. Okay. So the download. So what you can see here is you can have different type of HTML page, right? So you open this one. It's the frame. I see what. So you see the broken link. So what happened is that because when you work with the SAS Studio, so you are working in a virtual environment. So the path actually is different. So the path is not really connects directly to your computer's path. Actually relates to that path on the server. So you do need to open this one, then change it. If you open it, I open this way, but you need to open with the editor. So in this case, I'll choose my favorite editor. Let's say, what do I have? IntelliJ. I pick this one. I use this one for web and mobile development, right? So I take this one. You can see the path is different, right? So you want to change this path to the current path. Sometimes you use a dot and slash. That's what I would use, but just make things simple since all the files are in the same folder. So I use this way. So you can see you have the HTML section, and you have the metadata and title and all the stuff. Here has the body, and then you're gonna change it. Same thing here, right? So you're gonna see the page, hopefully. So you save it, right? You just save it, and then you need to refresh it. Yeah, and then you're gonna see the menu on the left and the page on the right. So this actually it will help you to produce HTML page in this way. This is the data frame. You want to see the other part. For example, this part. I'll show you this one. You open with. Oh, I should set that as a default, and then same thing here. So I opened it. Okay. So this is the main part. So you can make any change you want, and or you can just attach that as part of an email. So I just basically go through this document. Same thing. You're gonna see the HTML. Each page is an independent page, and this part you have the cascading style sheets. You don't need to know too much about it if you just work as a data analyst. So this is something called CSS. You can see there's just basically formatting, right? So nothing else. And then let me see if there's anything that is interesting on the bottom. It's quite long. So this Sas basically produces this automatically, right? So at the end, wow, this is actually it's quite long. So I didn't know Sas actually produced this much. So at the end, which I want to show you, basically here has a table. You can see this is a table and put different grouping, and you have the th, basically is the header, and then you're gonna have a td, right? So td basically has the data. So if you are new to HTML, it may look like a little bit overwhelming, but it's very straightforward. Just basically they produce this kind of code, and which you can see as a web page. If you go to view source, view page source, you're gonna see the same thing. This is the contents, but you're gonna see the same thing in the code, right? View page source, right? So you're gonna see here in the same HTML code you see when you open this separately. And this HTML can be read by different type of browsers. In this case, I open with Chrome. You can open with Safari, Firefox, anything you like. Okay. So basically, this the Sas ODS. Again, feel free to try different type of format. You can try PowerPoint, which I never tried. You can also do with RTF or XML format. Again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something new here.